Hello, classmates. How is everybody? Okay, so we're actually down to the last lesson in your art appreciation modules. We are done with the first grading. I think we covered like around the 1 to 4, and for the midterms we have like 5 to 7. And so for the finals, you are done. We are down to the last three, and we are finished with music criticism or appreciating music, and we are also done with lesson 9, which is related to your task, which I gave in the previous video, which is all about creating or what is this it's about your soul, or it's about your presentation of identity, your representation of who you are and what you are. And that's what we call and that's related to art and man. And this time, going outside of yourself, or going outside of who you are and what you are as a person, is lesson 10, because we are now focusing on art and society. We are referring to the position or the place of the person outside of his or herself. And so this is lesson 10. Here are the objectives that we're supposed to go into at the end of the lesson. The learner must be able to, number one, to define and identify appropriation and its place in culture and art. So the key term that we're going to learn from this is appropriation. And the second one is to write a feature article about an art form from the student's province or culture. However, because of time constraints, we're not really going to do number two. What we're going to work on will be other smaller things which will be still related to it. I know that you have a lot of writing tasks for the other subjects, and because this is art, I'm going to stick to the non-writing parts, and you can focus on that and your objectives exam later on. So reading materials, of course, you have your modules, and we're going to have your appropriation activity later on, but we will not do the one on your module, and we will not do art from the regions. Meron akong bibigay sa inyo na ibang activity. Okay, so art and society, when we talk about, this is, of course, Fernando Amor Solo. As I've told you last time, no, this is Lavanderas. Whenever you see a work by Amor Solo, you have an idea that it is by him. You know that it's an Amor Solo just by the theme, even just by subject matter, even just by the colors that are used, you already have an idea that this is a Fernando Amorsolo. And I think that's what the art is all about. This is what one of the things that we're supposed to know, or we're supposed to learn, is that when you see we are supposed to identify or know certain themes. I'm opening here Google Images so we can look into some styles. I'll just be typing in here some artist names, and you're going to see just how similar their works are. Let's start with Amor Solo. So as you can see, themes pa lang, ano, and the way that the colors were used, the oil that's used, it's even the subject matter, very Filipino, very post Spanish colonial themes, very good ones. Let's go to something Asian. Let's look at of course the very amazing Kozama Yayoi there. So as you can see, no, oh, diba? We're just scrolling down, but you can already have this is her when she was younger, and she was a struggling artist. So you can see her work. It follows a certain pattern. It follows a certain style. You know, once you see it, you already know that this is Kozama Yayoi. Okay. Let's have Mark Rothko. See, we're just googling and looking at images, and you can already see the style. You can see, so whenever you see something like that, actually that's my phone wallpaper right now. I double checked, it is this one. I love this. It's my favorite Rothko. Ayan. Or we can also look into Kandinsky. uh you remember Kandinsky, abstract versus abstraction, so he is abstract. Is no, so just googling, you already have an idea. Helen Frankenthaler. There, look at that. They're awesome. They're amazing artists. Ganda, di ba? Who else? Yung gusto nyo ano, si Goya, Francisco Goya. No, did you see that? 'Di ba? So it has a certain flavor. In a way, when you look at Goya, it has a certain texture to it. Who else? Let's look into someone who are more modern, like oh, sige, Picasso din. See? The Picasso, of course, nadadagdag yung mukha niya, pero let's type Picasso paintings. See? They follow a certain... Sino yung kapatid ni Picasso? Who was the other founder of Cubism? I hope you remember. Who? Georges Braque. Okay, so that's his work. Okay. See? My favorite pop artist. Let's look at Warhol muna. Warhol paintings. Uh, right? Ganda, di ba? So, those are the works of Rothko. Liechtenstein, another pop artist. There. Remember? But this is actually in oil. This is, it looks like it's printed, but this is painted using oil. Remember this, Drowning Woman? I don't care. I'd rather sink than call Brad for help. These are all example. These are all patterns. How about this is my favorite pop artist. Keith Haring. There. And that's why I also wore this shirt because I want to show it to you. This is I think this is Uniqlo. This is Uniqlo. So this is Totem by Kate Haring. So as you can see, it's the same one on my shirt. So that's related to our topic today. So Uniqlo has been doing this. There are many. If you are a pop art fan or pop art enthusiast, just like me, there one of the because you cannot afford the painting or because you don't have it, one of the ways that you can show your appreciation or your love or attribute to this artist that we enjoy or that we admire is on a baser level kasi hindi natin afford hanggang t-shirt lang tayo, parang ganon. And it's a way to commodify or it's of course the artists have issues about that. But of course if they pair with Uniqlo will definitely give a share or proceeding to their foundations. Kasi Keith Haring, for example, patay na yan eh. Keith Haring died of AIDS. He's a gay activist and an amazing gay artist. And if you look at the t-shirt, it was able to capture the style talaga of Totem by Keith Haring. There are many. I think ang kasabay nung edition ng shirt na to was Kozama Yayoi. I'm not sure. I forgot the others. But Kozama Yayoi is very famous. Yung isang t-shirt ko na nakuha ko was Kozama was the squash. So there are many. I'm sure maybe some of you even has it. You don't even know that probably when you were at Uniqlo or H&M or even the Wagwagan, there are many in the Wagwagan. I'm telling you right now. So there are times when that's where I look for signature pieces, especially the ones that are referencing art. There's one that I bought there with the great wave of Kanagawa. And then a few years later I found just this year, I think just last month, it was at Uniqlo. But this is medyo madami nang naglabas nun. And then the other one that I got, which is if especially those na nasa baba, pag akyat yun ng Baguio, try nyo magtingin sa Wagwagan. Although wag ngayon kasi syempre delikado. But those places are the you have to clean it properly, but you can find in those places gems, very amazing t-shirts, even pants, where they even if you don't wear them because they are either too big or too small, but because they carry like an artist signature or an artist sketch or an artist painting, you just want to buy it, like it's the most it's the cheapest way for you to like have a hand or to take hold of an art by this artist, parang ganon. So in relation to that, I was talking about that because our topic today is related to what we call appropriation. So appropriation refers to ownership generally that pertains to the general right of a person or an individual to control an object purchased or in his possession. So um yun nga, yung it has something to do with copyright, the person who created the work, exclusive rights to reproduce, to display publicly, to make and distribute copies, and to prepare derivative works based on the original artwork, as well as to authorize those mentioned above. If artworks skip the 50-year mark, those are already in public domain. So for example, if I have a book and I'm going to cover it with Mona Lisa, walang issue yon. For example, one of the questions that I received when I prepared your module was the cover, because the cover was the UB building, and I'm not loving it. I don't get the art appreciation vibe, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But when they asked me, it was in the internet, so I told them that's already on ano, that's already on public domain. So if it's in public domain, it means that it means that it's for use for anybody and I don't need to pay. Eto siya. So this is Groundswell by Edward Hopper, my favorite artist. It's I like the color because I think it's a time for me to explain also the cover. Ang ganda niya. I aside from I like bursts of blue and green. Those are my favorite bursts. But what I like about this is that when you are looking at Groundswell, it's ano kasi it's about the youthful glow into it. They're on the on sea, and you can see these are very young. I think I put an explanation here. May nilagay ako dati. You just look for it about the cover. Oh, there. The cover of this module is Edward Hopper's Groundswell, three young men and a woman sailing a catboat off the Massachusetts coast. It's from 1939. So, ilang years na yan, more than 50 years ago, as the world teetered on the edge of war. It is a crisp but uneasy scene of sun rays, sea spray, and the surging promise of youth. So if you look at it, it's very bright, ano? It's very bright, but you can see that it's very hopeful because of those who are in the painting, the guys and then the girl. It has a youthful promise into it, and even if it's nice and calm and sunny, and there's this burst of beautiful colors and all, it's still too bright. You can't directly look at it, like you need glasses before you can really look at it. And I think that's also one of the glaring sense that the painting considers, because when you look at Groundswell, the idea or this ability that you have to look at it directly means that it's too bright for comfort because it was towards the time of war, parang ganon. Okay, so purchase of a created work will merely result in the transfer of ownership, but the copyright will still remain with the creator. So if you're asking, sir, bumili kami ng marami online, may mga nagbebenta ngayon. There are many online. If you are in the future, if you want to buy well, mas mamahal siya. But I have a friend who is a dealer. I think I told you the story before. And then sometimes she will tell stories, and the stories are like, oh, there's an Amor Solo worth like this and like this. It's very small and they're selling it. Meron pa rin. But even if you buy that painting, the copyright is still is still with the artist. Ikaw lang yung nakakuha nung, parang ang point lang yan, yung painting kasi isa lang yung nagawa, 'di ba? But if it's like a book, if it's a novel, like for example, I'm reading Haruki Murakami right now, and I bought it. I have this Murakami book, but I only bought a part of it. It's like buying stuff related to it, but the ownership is still with him, with the artist or the writer. Ayun. So, purchase of created work will merely result in the transfer of ownership. So you have to be this is a lecture about more on to the ethics. Appropriation, again, it refers to borrowing images that are recognizable from different sources and using these borrowed images to make a new art form. So, means of experimentation by changing the context around borrowed images and objects. Artists establish original artwork in new context, and artworks can be appropriated in two ways. So the first one is, how do we appropriate that? By looking into the content elements, motive styles, and genres. Now you have to pay attention, because this is your next project, or this is your next task. I will not let you do the vision board that is included in the book. I don't know if I told you before that I will, but I will not. I will ask you to do something related to cultural appropriation. Now, when you say appropriation, you are borrowing images that are recognizable. Okay? So it's about referencing. Example, yun nga. So, this shirt, for example, even if, because there are many paintings or artworks by Herring, even if I only have the, even if I only wear this shirt, and then someone who is well known in art history, or someone who also studies or teaches art will see it, they will know, oh, ano yan, Kit Haring yan, parang ganon. So, you are Uniqlo was just borrowing. So it's this is what you call appropriating or appropriation. Uniqlo borrowed this painting, and this painting is a recognizable Keith Haring style. Yung pagka-paint niya, the way it's painted is recognizable as a Keith Haring. And because it was borrowed, that's what we call appropriation. So the means of experimentation by changing the context around borrowed images and objects. So there are a lot of issues about it. There are ethical things to consider about it. Okay, so artists establish original artwork in new context, and artworks can be appropriated in two ways. Yan yung nandyan, as I've said a while ago. Okay, so there are some more major points. Its appropriation is different from copying or forgery. So magkaibang ideas ito. However, appropriation allows the viewer to recognize the origin of the borrowed images and objects, as well as the origin of the borrowed images and objects, as well as the original context. Ayun. So very important, no? Importante yung mga ito. When you talk about appropriation, the viewer is supposed to like place, or supposed to understand something based on something. So eto nga. So let's keep using this shirt as an example. If the viewer looks at it, they say, "Oh, that's a Uniqlo. That's a T-shirt by ano. That's a T-shirt that has a design by Keith Haring." And then when they look at it, the more that they are, the more that the conversation also starts like, bakit kaya nila ginamit? Bakit yan yung naging design nila? So it's a tribute probably to the ano. So I'll give you an example. If, for example, you are a designer for a brand, like let's say yun nga Uniqlo, and then you are given a task to like have an advocacy. You are in Portcom right now, right? Advocacy campaigns, and in your advocacy, your task here is for you to produce an advocacy on. You want to have a campaign on HIV/AIDS, for example. Keith Haring is one of the artists who died of HIV/AIDS. So what are you going to do? You can actually circle, or you can actually create a tribute or celebration of life, and what's this, a celebration for those who died of it, and also an advocacy campaign to tell people to be more protective, and to be more responsible with their bodies, and with their selves, and with their relationships. So ang gagawin mo, you research artists, for example, who died of HIV/AIDS, and then you turn their works into t-shirts. And that's an example of appropriation. I, for example, am an advocate of HIV/AIDS. So what do you do? Because I love art. I love to support this kind of cause. I know people who have it, or I sympathize with people who have it. So bibili ka ng t-shirt na yon, parang ganon. Yun yung idea ng appropriation. It's about trying to you will just borrow the image, but the way that you borrow the image, you also have to make sure that whatever story, context, background, history, idea, etc., about the image that you are borrowing can be transferred to the new thing that you are doing. Kaya mo siya ina-appropriate. That's why you are appropriating something, because you are going to carry the story. It's not just a painting or a picture anymore. You are carrying everything about that into that new thing. That's why, for example, the Che Guevara, right? Have you seen this shirt? Right? This is a very strong example of appropriation. Che Guevara is he is an activist, ano? And he lived a life of adventure, activism, and what is this? He's been this image of power and being able to stand up your ground. And people who wear his shirt, I don't know if people know this, those who are wearing his shirt, but his face is a symbol of a symbol of strength, of activism, of power, of citizenry power. So ewan ko kung yung appropriation na sinasabi dito, you use it something you use it for something that has the same background or that has the same story or to put that story across. That's why it's a very interesting concept, di ba? So, forgery or copying tries to deceive the viewers into thinking that they are looking at an original work of art, which is different. That's why appropriation, you do acknowledge that this is Che Guevara. You do acknowledge that the t-shirt, that the artwork is by Kusama Yayoi, that the artwork is by Keith Haring, that the artwork is by Andy Warhol. However, or by Roy Lichtenstein. However, you are just using that to create something new. You are just borrowing. Ganon yung point niya. So, what about cultural appropriation? Kasi lagi nating nababasa ito. Ano po? Culture refers to a specific type or form of intellectual development. It also means the customs, practices, perspectives, and even creations shared by a group of people. So when you say cultural appropriation, because you combine the idea of culture and appropriation, cultural appropriation means as appropriation that occurs across the boundaries of culture. A person with a certain culture takes objects created by a person or a group of persons of another culture and uses these objects as his or her own. I'll show you some. Okay, this is Aura Briguela. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but one of the ones who rose to fame because of her background and her style. Now, she went to fire because of this, because of her hair, because of her hairstyle. So it became an issue here. I'm not, how do I search something on Twitter ba? Let's try Aura Briguela appropriation. Maybe someone tweeted about it. Oh, it's not there. Let's say black. It's not there. Or maybe we can just remove that. Um, na-issue siya because I just remember because it's what I saw. So I think ayun. So see, this is an example. Aura apologizes for cultural appropriation. That was just last August. So, this is what you call your cornrow braids. This is used by the African Americans, and of course, there's a very deep history about it. And Aura issued an apology about it. Ano ba yung ads? After getting himself into hot water, grabe, this is also wrong. I'll teach you something because I'm very sensitive about writing and gender. This is wrong. Aura always considers herself a her, a she. Her pronouns are she and her. This is very wrong. Wrong ito. So pag magsusulat kayo, hindi you follow her pronoun. It's not a him. So Aura issued an apology after getting herself into hot water for cultural appropriation for the adoption of the identity of another culture. Last August 27th, Aura posted photos of herself with braided hair on Twitter and captioned it, "I don't need a weapon, I am one." Ito yung images. While several people appreciated her look, there were also those who asked her to take down the photos for alleged cultural appropriation, prompting a debate on social media. One netizen with the user at Kenton Soup wrote, "I was rooting for you, but your hair. Don't make that a fashion. It's disrespectful." Ayun. After getting attacked for calling out Aura, Kenton Soup quoted a thread from another netizen explaining the history and impact of hairstyles in Black culture. Let's start with cornrows. If you didn't know already, cornrows are small tight braids laid on the scalp. Ito yon yung suot niya, parang sa ulo niya. These braids originated in Africa and were used by enslaved African Americans as maps and escape routes from their slave owners. Oh, 'di ba? That's a very interesting history. That's why ito yung itsura niya. During slavery, their ancestors braided escape route patterns in their hairstyles to flee bondage and seek freedom from their oppressors. So it has different styles because this is like an escape route. This is like a map. It's a cartography of sorts. Amid the criticism, several netizens came to Aura's defense and said that there's nothing wrong with what she did, considering that a lot of people or Filipinos get their hair braided. Naloka ko sa mga comments. When I was in Bora, daming nagpa-braids doon. And here sa Cebu, nagpa-braids yung friend ko sa isang Nigerian noong sinulog. One netizen wrote. Aura, for her part, acknowledged that what she did was wrong and immediately apologized for what she did to her followers. She wrote, "Hi guys, I just wanted to apologize for my recent post. I wasn't fully aware that cornrow hairstyles has a long history of discrimination. I sincerely," medyo wrong din yung ano sinabi niya. "It's not about the discrimination, it's about the use. I sincerely apologize for this mistake and I hope we all learn from this. Thanks to everyone who reached out and educated me." Although what she did is of course very good. It's commendable, no? Apologizing and owning up to the situation. In another tweet, she added, "I'm not always right, and that's okay. I'm still learning, growing, and improving." The fight for racial equity among Black people remains one of the most important issues around the world due to their long history of discrimination and, of course, slavery. Last May, hundreds of protests were staged across the world following what many refer to as a racially charged event which led to the death of a man named George Floyd. So I think because also of the issue of George Floyd during this time that Aura's hairstyle became a center of question. Now, probably you're asking me or you're asking yourselves, ano kayang opinion ng teacher about this? Because I am teaching you cultural appropriation right now. I don't think it was cultural appropriation. I don't think that she was using it in a negative way because I think for me, what is cultural appropriation is if you change the color of aura. Okay, there are those are that is what we can call cultural appropriation already. Kung si Aura, what she did was copy something that's related to black, or when she had this hairstyle, she videoed herself or posted on TikTok part of her that is or herself speaking in a way that blacks do. That's when it will be appropriation. It seemed here that it was just something that she did to to present herself or to make her look something or to make her look this way. So if you're saying that, what if it's also African the way that she wore those, then maybe that's, I think, where everything will become valid. So if there is something in here that will make her look African or ano, then that's going to be a very big issue. But if she's just being aura and she's just wearing braids, these are not on the first place cornrow yung dating niya. You know what cornrow, di ba? Etong cornrow, yung mga napapanood yun sa horror movies. Eto, parang ganyan kasi yan eh. Yan yung ginagaya nila. And then they have the braids there. O yan, baka may medyo issue din. O see, so she's also ridiculed for that. That's why this is cultural appropriation is really really a very big issue. Okay? All right. So it refers to appropriation of there are different types of cultural appropriation. We have the first one, object appropriation, refers to appropriation of concrete and noticeable works of art. Let's see if there are some examples. So object appropriation, let's see. Okay. So eto, when you are when you use something that's very not, of course this one is an example talaga, yung kay Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is being used in memes. That's an example of object appropriation. Okay? Happens when a tangible work previously owned by people from one culture was taken and adopted by a person or a group of persons from another culture. Even ours, yung mga ano natin, that's why there are many things that are coming into fire lately because many people are more educated. Tyra Banks, for example, is getting fires right now for cultural misappropriation. She was object appropriation. She would get some tools and then she will give it to girls to use in their modeling, but it actually has a specific or special objective or use in someone else's culture. Ayan. Another type, content appropriation, adoption of works of art that are short stories, poetry, and musical composition. So these are words. Happens when an intangible, you cannot touch it, previously expressed by people from one culture was adopted and used by a person or a group of persons from another culture. So style appropriation, artists do not replicate works created by a person or group. However, they use the elements of those works in creating their own. That's what you call style. So you will be doing later on a style appropriation. So just like the artist that I showed to you a while ago, if you're going to create an advertisement where you use the style of Keith Haring, 'di ba maraming ganito? There are many things that you see are like this, the cartoon style. You don't really know which one is a Keith Haring anymore, but you do, but you're supposed to know that this is a Keith Haring style. 'Di ba? Just like doodles, mga ganyan. So, if you use this in an advertisement, that's an example of style appropriation. You're appropriating the style. Motif appropriation happens when artists are inspired by the art from a different culture, but they do not produce artworks using exactly the same style. Kaya siya motif because you are just copying the motif. Okay? So, these are examples of motif, 'di ba? Yung mandala type, but motif is not just about the pattern, it's also about the story. Example, this is the right time for me to share Wang Od. Wang Od story, for example. When you talk about Wang Od, meron akong example ng motif appropriation. There are some tattoo artists who are inspired by the works of Wang Od, right? So, um, Wang Od tattoo designs. These are her designs eh. Ayan, medyo meron na siyang ano. So, she has a list and then you have to copy. Most common na nakikita ko sa mga tao yung Scorpio, etc. I had I have a um I have a I have a small something there, but I wanted to get one here. I wanted to use the moon thing, but I was supposed to ask for like a revision or a person to personalize it. I last year for 29 yeah, last year 2019, I think that was March and April. I I was on a long leave from UB. I went to Kalinga. So if there are some Kalinga people here, hola. So I stayed in Kalinga for I think a month, and I was just backpacking. So lahat ng munisipyo and areas yun dinaanan ko. It's part of my research. I wanted to study weaving. I want to study especially backstrap weaving because Kalinga culture, especially Luwagan, has a very rich data and has a very rich background for backstrap weaving. And then I wanted to go I wanted to get one, especially the Scorpio because I'm a Scorpio and I wanted the moon. But on the way up to Wangod, the tour guide, and I've been to Wangod's place for like 3 times. And then Wangod was like saying, you know, ano, ah, sabi nung tour guide, maraming pumupunta dito, hindi naman nila alam yung culture. So he is saying a lot of negative things about those who are visiting the place. And so of course, I was very curious about it. What the local thinks about it. So I'm like asking a lot of questions. What are his thoughts, his ideas? And of course, he's sharing the same thing that you've probably heard from others, which is true, which is validated that these are worn by very strong people. So you are the kadangyans, the rich people. And those who, if you've killed someone or yeah, if you've done something very commendable and very good for your community, that's when you also get the right to get a tattoo. So those are the only ways you can get a tattoo before, especially in Kalinga. If you are born from a very strong, from a very prestigious, and from a very abundant lineage, mayaman kayo, or you are also, or you did something you did something for your community, you killed somebody in a war or something, those are the only ways. And I was thinking, number one, I'm not rich. Number two, I haven't killed someone yet. Joke lang. I haven't killed anybody to deserve this. I've never been to war, and I'm not from a I'm not from a very prestigious lineage. I do not warrant any right for me to get any of the tattoos. And when we arrived, the tour guide looked at me and he was like, "Oh, anya nga, what are you going to get?" Of course, the answer was, no, I'm not getting anything anymore because I'm already very embarrassed after everything that you said. So I did not get a tattoo anymore. I was so embarrassed with what he said. I felt like, oh my gosh, what he said is valid. What he said is true, 'di ba? Parang the point of getting a tattoo is for you to know the message also, or for you to know everything about it. But now he's telling me that those tattoos were given only because of these certain reasons, and now I'm embarrassed. I'm shy. I don't want to do it anymore. So we just lingered, talk to the people around, took photos, and then we left. So I didn't get anything because yun nga, medyo nahiya ako. So yung mga yun, issues naman kailangan yung see, even smaller issues like that has something to do with art appreciation. I hope you will consider those before you get your tattoos or before you wear something. It's a very important thing also. You need to, it's also a way for you to show respect, not just art, but for culture. And culture represents peoples. And when you respect peoples, I'm talking about people in the plural form, different cultures. When you respect peoples, you respect also their artifacts, you respect their clothes, you respect everything about them. So motive appropriation, you are inspired by the designs of Wang Od, so maybe there is an artist who's also going to create one. But it's sort of inspired by the lines, by the way that Wang Od creates her designs, and yun yung motif na sinasabi. Hindi siya style because hindi yung elements eh. Motif will be yung parang ano niya, na-inspire siya sa art ni Wang Od. So it may not look like that. Siyempre, it's already style appropriation if there is a new artist who will create tattoos that are like that are two-dimensional lines lang. But if the artist will create something like, I don't know, add colors into it or something, so it becomes totally different. But when you look at it, you are reminded by the works of Wang Od, and that's what you call a motif appropriation. So subject occurs when the subject matter is from another culture, like the British writer creating a story about Pacific Islanders. This may happen in an offensive way, and it could be morally unacceptable, especially when they make fun of ano, 'di ba, especially Asian culture in movies. Ayan, major points. Legal systems remain strict on cases that can be considered violations on copyright. An example would be the photo featured rose gold dripping lips. Kylie, naku, itong si Kylie Jenner. Kylie lip kit gold. She's always under fire for design, 'di ba? Hindi ito, ayun, ito, this one. So, she always has these are questionable things for art, for appropriation. She has those. So, that's an example. She's medyo nagkakaroon siya ng lawsuits about design eh. Ayan. The drip the those can become issues. Haggerty, Vlada Haggerty. Ayan. So, eto, yung look at that, 'di ba? So this is what you call appropriation. So kuhang-kuha niya, 'di ba? So ganyan. It was really if you look at it, I'm not saying that it's really copied because malay natin, but you can see na medyo ano siya, parang similar na similar nga naman. So medyo valid yung ano, the points of Haggerty are actually valid. That's what you call the dripping lips, all right? So there's a lawsuit. Okay, next, improvisation, the art and act of improvising or composing, uttering, executing, or arranging anything without previous preparations or producing something from whatever is existing or available. In performing arts, improvisation is a very spontaneous performance without specific or scripted preparation. In music, it engages creativity and imagination. For example, there because we are just done with music, improvisations are small details that can create something that can create more value or that can create more meaning in a work. For example, when you're in the studio and then you were singing and then you were just doing something, mag-improvise ka, you do something that's out of the script or out of what is expected. Okay? So it just comes out of the blue or something. Skills and techniques in improvisation. So I hope that you're also very good in improv, especially because you are business students. Business students must be very good in improv. What example, you have a script to say and then someone asks you a question, you need to improvise. So improv skills can apply to many diverse abilities or forms of communication and expression across all disciplines. Improvisation techniques are widely utilized in training for the performing arts. Extemporize or ad-lib and play it by ear. Think on your feet. Take it as it comes and make it up as we go along. In public speaking, we call this playing it by ear and thinking on your feet. Thinking on your feet kasi, um, can you think of something snappy, something very good to say even if you are just given a few minutes or a few seconds? Here are some skills in improvisation. There are major here in the major points. There's what we call stopgap and your brainstorming. So when you say stopgap, this is your improvisation intended to solve a problem on a temporary basis, and the proper solution is unavailable. So, for example, it applies in the field of engineering because when you improvise, it's subjective. Brainstorming, improvisational group problem solving technique in which any and all ideas that a group member may have are permitted and encouraged to be expressed, regardless of actual practicality or importance. More in the performing arts, improvisation can be on the spot or off the cuff. On the spot will be you are already there. Off the cuff, hindi mo you are not prepared for it. It can take place more often if it is practiced as a means of encouraging artistic or creative behavior. Can be done when an individual or group is acting, dancing, singing, playing musical instruments, talking, creating artworks, problem solving, or reacting at the moment, and in response to the stimulus of one's immediate environment and inner feelings. All right, so in music, creative activity of immediate musical composition, which combines performance with communication of emotions, and while simultaneously playing instrumental, as well as spontaneous response to other musicians. Composing music on the fly. Your for example, si Taylor Swift, for example, because I've been using her as an example, she lets us in on her creative process, her improv, by sharing to us her voice memos. So she is creating songs on the road or on the plane or while on tour, etc. It can be a solo performance or interdependently in ensemble or ensemble with other players. Improvised freestyle rap is commonly practiced as part of a rapper's creative process, as a finished product, spiritual event, and simply for fun. I'll share with you one example of musical improv later on. The amazing Nicki Minaj. Improvisation in various art forms, improv theater, improv or impro. It is the form of theater, often comedy, in which most of all of what is performed is unplanned or script. Sir, question. Yung kina Vice Ganda po ba improvisational yon? Yes, that's an improv. That's why those are very good performers. Vice Ganda and other stand-up comedies, those are very good. Those are improvs. They are spontaneously done by performers, and the dialogue, action, story, and characters are created collaboratively by the players as the improv unfolds in present time without use of a previously prepared written script. So parang kung mag-uusap sila, they will just say, ako, sige, ngayong araw ako si Britney, ikaw si Taylor, ikaw si Ariana, and then you will be like this, and then we're going to perform, we're going to outshine each other, and then we're going to have a verbal fight or something. So they will improv, okay? So example, I am given the role of Taylor. Who is Taylor? What is personality? And I'm going to base my improv on that. If you are watching RuPaul's Drag Race, there are many improvs there. Dance improv, process of spontaneously creating movement facilitated through a variety of creative explorations, including body mapping through levels, shape, and dynamic schema. If you're from UB Senior High, I think that if you're, kung na-teacheran nyo si Ma'am Dinah Chendiwan, she's my classmate in college, we used to do dance improv. So what we do is, it's a free or seemingly unstructured, less technically strict and impulsive form that draws inspiration from everyday dance practices and influences. So I remember they will play, for example, they will play a music, or they will play a song, and they will just say, for example, the theme will be about hate. So all of your movements must respond or must show hate. So when you're doing an improv, for example, and then the theme, for example, is nature, and then you have it's like an interpretive dance. So you try to find ways on what to express. So it can be like a wings, or it can be you can use your hands, or you can use your arms, every part of your body for you to present. We're inside the classroom, we can do this, but we're not in class, so I cannot help you with an improv. Gustong-gusto ng mga komto. Ayan. So, uh, contact improvisations, form of improvised dancing that has been developed internationally since 1972, involves exploration of one's body in relationship to others by using the fundamentals of sharing weight, touch, and movement awareness. It originated from the movement studies of Steve Paxton in the 1970s and developed through the continued exploration of the Judson Dance Theater. So, ayan, improvisation in various art forms. Just go over these five rhythms in contact body improvisation. So there is flowing, staccato, chaos, lyrical, and stillness. When dance in sequence are known as a wave. Takes about an hour to dance. Dance explores emotion, the cycle of life, the ego, the relationship, and spiritual vision. Improvisation in various art forms, contact improvisation, five rhythm maps, exploring embodiment. So this is your deep internal wisdom. Emotions, how do you express your love, your hate, your anger, your tension, your anxiety. Life cycle is a conditioning and relationships. You try to look at every phase of your life. Psyche, of course, it involves some mirrors. It talks about your ego and the archetypes, imitation of the original. Offer understanding of people's innate powers, being, loving, knowing, seeing, and healing. So contact improvisation, usually in the third world improv, like here, first school in the Philippines dedicated to teaching the art and craft of improvisational theater. Conducts classes and workshops on this, etc. It's also sponsored by NCCA. Just letting you know. Okay. Just some tips. I cannot teach, mas maganda siya kung practical, but probably just so you know, five improv theater principles and vision. Yes, and yes to the situation and build on it. Make your partner look good. So no such thing as laglagan. You're not supposed to outshine each other or leave people hanging. You're supposed to look good, but look good in the center with the others. Hindi yung you will emerge. No, you're supposed to all look good in it. Being average, doing your part genuinely and honestly, and letting the scene take off on its own. Active listening, you pay attention to what your scene partner is saying so that you're able to express or respond properly. Everything is a gift. An offer is you choose to accept it without judgment. All right, so those are the important points for this, and that also closes the first half of your lesson of your unit 10. So for our next one, you're just going to be going over art from the Cordilleras, and then I will be discussing your final output. But before we get there, I'll just please read cultural appropriation when borrowing becomes exploitation. Parts of there are some parts of it that will be appearing in your examination, and I want you to no I want you to watch it. I want you to read it so that you have a better idea about it, so that once you will become business people, some of you might become even artists, writers, etc. You know that there's actually a limit, and there are rules that governs these kinds of issues. All right, so I'm going to end there. And before we do that, make sure I'm going to share with you something, part of the playlist that you're supposed to watch. Please watch that. Please watch the video that I attached here. It's the next one. It's the next one to this playlist. It's entitled "Wheel of Freestyle" with Nicki Minaj. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll talk to you about it in class. Sorry guys, I will just explain dagdag ko na dito explain your next topic so that I will not create a different or a new video. Your task is going to be pop art. I'm going to be sharing this with you naman. So this is appropriation, of course, from our topic today. It's the copying and alteration of existing images. So you remember the word that we used before, which is juxtaposing. We used this when we were discussing subjects of art. In popular culture, there are some different styles that artists did. For example, this is by Deborah Cass, Jewish Jackie. So this is of course a repeated image. This is Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe. This was what is this? This was borrowed, or this was appropriated by Richard Pettibone. Here is also Bed by Robert Rosenberg. I'm going to send you a short video about this from MoMA. This is also one of the more interesting pieces in pop art. Rosenberg is a very good artist. Ang ganda nito. He was able to use different materials for his artwork. And the very well-known Campbell soup cans by Andy Warhol, as you can see in here, he used the soup cans and he appropriated by putting them all together and creating a different artwork based on those advertisements. Roy Lichtenstein, Drowning Girl. What kind of appropriation is this? This is a style appropriation. So as I told you, he used art when he painted this Drowning Girl. Pero it's an appropriation because he copied the style, or he copied the way that comics are being printed when he painted these. And this is Tom Vezelman, Still Life number 30. This is also a painting, but he and a collage at the same time. He was able to put different elements all together. And Roy Lichtenstein again, Turkey Shopping Bag 1964. So what is your task? You're going to do this task here at the bottom. You're going to create, and I'm excited for this, you're going to be doing, wala pala siya, here, you're going to be doing your self-portrait. So you're going to create a self-portrait. it as you can see in here, that's why I want to show you this, so that because I want to be clear, I'm not saying that this is an art competition where all of you must be able to show that you are very good in painting. I know that some are as defined as this. There are some of you are very good artists and your work can be as defined as this, but a self-portrait is it can be your style. This is a self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh. But there are also self-portraits that are simpler, yung style ang sinasabi natin dito, 'di ba? Meron din yung wala ba yung mga ano lang, medyo abstract yung dating. Ganyan, this is already a self-portrait. This is a self-portrait. This is a self-portrait, 'di ba? Let's look at self-portraits by Picasso. That one is a self-portrait because he's a very good painter, but that's how he portrayed himself. Self-portrait is what you think you look based on and how are you going to paint that. However, the challenge in here is you're going to appropriate it with a style. So you try to Google and try to look for who are your favorite artists. So for example, your favorite artist is Kozama Yayoi. How are you going to create a self-portrait where you're going to copy this? Meron kang patterns of beads, of polka dots and bright colors, etc. Can you do that in a self-portrait? Then that's Kusama Yayoi. And you just provide me you just provide me a 150 word explanation about the work that you did. And that's going to be your self-portrait. All right. So I'll wait for it. Same rules. Kindly put your 25%, your 50%, your 75%, and the 100% can be a separate artwork already, the final self-portrait. And kindly accompany, you can put it in the private comments or you can also put it in a slide just like what you did with your album art and send it by next week. So that's your self-portrait. All right. So I'll see you guys. Take care and have a great day.